Min-jae Park made Grace Holloway kneel and spilled coffee while three Korean gangsters held her customers silent, and Nora Bell cried beside the shattered register. To them, Grace was a tired 52-year-old diner owner with nowhere to run. Min-jae tipped her chin up and said the room belonged to him. Grace lowered her eyes. She did not look at the gun. She watched Daniel Kwan, his second in command, flinch when someone whispered Evan Cho's name from the back hallway. Not anger. Fear. Then June Park grabbed Nora's arm, trying to look harder than he felt, and the diner held only coffee burning on the warmer. Evan was hidden behind Grace's kitchen with a flash drive men were willing to kill for. Min-jae ordered Grace to open the back room or watch Nora pay. Grace breathed once, slow enough to make June copy her. Men with hostages had mistaken that silence for surrender before. Min-jae made the same mistake now. Daniel glanced toward the office door, and Grace understood the crew had entered as one threat, but three fears, and one was already turning against the others. If you enjoy stories where arrogant criminals discover too late that they chose the wrong victim, leave a like, subscribe to Wrong Victim Stories, and tell us what city or state you are watching from. Now let's go back to the moment they made their first mistake. 4 hours earlier, Grace Holloway had been wiping the same clean patch of counter because the motion made the diner feel settled. At 12:46 in the morning, Holloway's all-night diner held the ordinary collection of people who came when the rest of the city had stopped pretending to be awake. Earl Mercer, a retired bus mechanic with a hearing aid he refused to admit needed replacing, worked through a plate of meatloaf. Tasha Green, an emergency room nurse ending a double shift, had fallen asleep against the window with both hands around a mug. A delivery driver named Miguel Alvarez sat beneath the neon clock, reading messages from his daughter between bites of pie. In booth 6, a narrow man in a rain jacket had ordered only tea and had spent 20 minutes watching the reflection of the front door in the chrome napkin holder. Grace had noticed that before she noticed anything else about him. She noticed things. Nora Bell moved down the counter, refilling sugar jars, her dark ponytail swinging behind her. She was 17, applying to community colleges, and saving tips for a used car that Grace privately believed should have been retired before Nora was born. "You can go," Grace told her. "Your mother thinks I run a child labor camp." Nora glanced at the wall clock. "My mother thinks anyone awake after 10 is in a gang." "Your mother is sensible." "My mother watches 3 murder shows a night." Grace slid a covered slice of lemon pie across the counter. "Take this home and tell her it is hush money." Nora smiled, and the diner relaxed around that smile. That was why Grace kept her on the late shift, only when she was there too. The neighborhood outside Seattle had grown rougher around the edges, but the diner remained one of the few places where a night nurse, a mechanic, a trucker, and a scared kid could all sit beneath the same tired lights without being asked what they had done to deserve shelter. Grace knew the value of rooms like that. She knew what happened when people believed there was no safe room left. The bell above the front door rang at 12:52. Evan Cho stumbled in with blood on one cuff and no coat. Grace recognized him before he raised his head. 3 years earlier, he had been the shy dishwasher who apologized to plates after dropping them. He had worked 2 jobs, sent money to his father, and learned every regular customer's order without speaking more than 5 words at a time. Now he was 28, thinner than Grace remembered, and terrified in a way that had nothing to do with the cut at his eyebrow. "Bathroom?" she asked. It was not the question he expected. "Grace, you look like you need the bathroom." She held his gaze. The narrow man in booth 6 stopped stirring his tea. Evan understood. "Yeah. Back hall. Same place." He crossed behind the counter. Grace turned to the coffee machine as though a former employee wandering into the kitchen after midnight happened every week. She heard his shoes hesitate at the pantry, then continue toward the restroom. 30 seconds later, the small service bell beneath the pickup shelf chimed twice. No customer could reach it. Grace carried a tub of clean silverware into the kitchen. Evan stood beside the walk-in refrigerator, gripping a blue receipt book from the old diner days. His face had gone gray. "They found out," he whispered. "Who?" "Min Jae Park, Daniel, all of them." Grace set the silverware down. "Found out what?" He opened the receipt book. A black flash drive rested where order slips used to be. "I copied the accounts, companies, payments, names, not just gambling and collections, contractors, shipping, people downtown. I thought if I had proof I could make a deal. With police. With anybody who could keep me alive." "Did you call anybody?" "A federal number. I hung up." His voice shook. "I saw Daniel outside my apartment. They know." Grace did not touch the drive. "Why come here?" Grace looked toward the swinging kitchen door. The narrow man in booth 6 was still visible through the round window. He had stopped pretending to drink tea. "Who knows you worked here?" "Daniel, maybe. He did payroll when I first got hired by one of Min Jae's companies." There it was, a line connecting the fear at the door to the man in the booth. Grace picked up the receipt book. "How many followed you?" "I don't know. Car. Black SUV. Then I lost it." "Did you?" Evan swallowed. "I thought I did." Grace opened the flower cabinet, removed a dented tin marked special orders, and placed the receipt book beneath old coupons. Then she took the flash drive itself and slipped it into the seam of a clean oven mitt hanging beside the stove. "Listen to me," she said. "Go into the dry storage room. Behind the soda crates is a maintenance hatch. It opens into the old delivery alcove. Do not leave unless I tell you. Do not call anyone unless you can do it silently. And if someone opens that door, you are a frightened former employee who came here because you had nowhere else. You do not know where the drive is. Grace, they'll hurt you. Maybe. You don't understand them." For 1 second she almost smiled. "That is possible." She guided him toward storage. "But right now you are breathing too fast to think. Slow it down. In through your nose. Longer out." He obeyed because her tone made obedience feel like the safest available choice. When he disappeared behind the crates, Grace returned to the dining room. Nora was watching her. "Old friend?" she asked. "Old dishwasher. He okay?" "No." Grace gathered empty plates. "Call your mother from the office. Tell her I need you another hour." Nora frowned. "Why?" "Because I said so." The sharpness was unusual enough to move her. She headed toward the office. Grace passed booth 6 and set down a fresh tea bag without being asked. The narrow man looked up. He was perhaps 40, clean-shaven, with a pale mark where a wedding band had recently been. "You keep looking at the exit," Grace said. "Draft bothers you?" "Just tired." "Then drink the tea." He smiled without warmth. "You pay attention. Tips are better when I do." She moved on. At 12:59, headlights swept across the front windows. A black SUV stopped beside the curb. Then a second car pulled in behind it. Grace saw Nora emerge from the office, phone in hand. Mom didn't answer. "Put your phone in your apron pocket," Grace said. "Leave the line open if she calls back." The bell above the front door rang. Min Jae Park entered first. He wore a charcoal overcoat over a dark suit, no tie, and the controlled expression of a man who believed anger was valuable only when other people could see it. Daniel Kwan followed in a leather jacket, scanning the room too quickly. June Park came third. He was younger, maybe 22, with a broad chest and a face still soft around the eyes. A fourth man remained near the door. The narrow customer in booth 6 did not look surprised. Grace filed that away. Min Jae walked to the counter and sat on the stool directly across from her. "Coffee," he said. "Fresh pot is 2 minutes out." Then give me the old one. Grace poured. His eyes stayed on her face. You, Grace? Sign says Holloway. That wasn't my question. Yes. He placed a photograph on the counter. It showed Evan leaving an office building. Seen him tonight? Grace looked at it long enough to be believable, and not long enough to appear interested. Used to wash dishes here. Daniel's shoulders tightened. The movement was small, but it came before Minjae spoke. Tonight, Minjae repeated, not since he quit. Daniel looked toward the kitchen. Grace saw his jaw flex. Minjae took one sip of coffee. Bad. You asked for the old pot. June almost smiled. Minjae noticed. The smile vanished. Control, Grace thought. Not money. Not even the missing drive. The thing Minjae guarded most closely was the picture of himself inside other people's minds. He set the mug down. We are going to look around. Kitchen is employees only. Tonight it isn't. Grace leaned one hand on the counter. Health department comes after me, not you. Minjae studied her. Daniel moved first, pushing through the swinging door. Grace did not stop him. A person who needed to search would search. Resistance only gave urgency a weapon. Instead, she said, Nora, bring Earl more coffee. A routine instruction. Normal volume. Nora's eyes met hers. She picked up the pot. Grace watched Daniel through the round window. He opened the pantry, checked beneath a prep table, then crossed toward the office. He did not look like a man searching randomly. He looked like a man trying to reach something before someone else did. Minjae drummed 2 fingers beside his mug. You always this calm? Usually busier. You know who I am? A customer who does not like coffee. June looked down. Minjae smiled, but there was no humor in it. Korean gangsters humiliated a diner owner. They didn't know she was an FBI hostage negotiator. Grace would later imagine some headline saying, because people like stories in which danger announced itself cleanly and the right person always knew what to do. Daniel came back empty-handed. Office is clear, he said. Again his eyes moved toward the hallway. Minjae turned to the narrow man in booth 6. Cal. The man stood. So that was the connection. He had been waiting inside, watching entrances, perhaps expecting Evan to arrive. He walked to the door and turned the lock. Tasha woke at the click. Earl lowered his fork. Miguel stopped reading his phone. Nora froze with the coffee pot held above a cup. Minjae did not raise his voice. Nobody needs to get nervous. We are looking for one person. When we find him, we leave. Then unlock the door, Grace said. People hear that better when they can leave. Minjae looked at her. Nobody leaves until I say. Daniel looked toward the back again when Minjae said, Where is Evan Cho? The flinch was clearer this time. Not concern for Evan. Concern about what Evan knew. Grace lowered the coffee pot to the warmer. You asked. I answered. You lied. Then why ask? Silence. Not long. 2 seconds. Enough to put the burden back on him. Minjae stood. The performance had begun. Minjae walked behind the counter as if crossing that narrow strip of rubber flooring proved ownership. He took the coffee pot from Grace and poured it onto the floor. The dark stream spread around her shoes and carried a sugar packet beneath the refrigerator. Old coffee, he said. Clean it. Nora stepped forward. She didn't do anything. June caught her arm. He did it quickly because Minjae was watching, then loosened his fingers the instant she winced. Grace saw both movements. Nora, she said, get the mop. No. The girl was frightened, but anger had reached her before obedience. He can clean his own mess. Minjae looked pleased. A new lever had presented itself. He lifted the coffee pot and let it drop. Glass broke across the tile. Tasha flinched awake. Earl swore under his breath. Now there is more to clean, Minjay said. Grace crouched. Nobody moved their feet. Glass travels. Grace reached for the broom. Minjay put his shoe on the handle. Kneel. Nora said Grace's name. Grace looked at her, not Minjay. It's all right. Then she lowered herself into the coffee. Her knees protested. The floor was cold through her slacks. Minjay expected shame to make her smaller. Instead, she examined the room from a new angle. Under the counter, she could see the silent alarm button near the register. Daniel stood where he could watch it. Cal had moved beside the front window. June still held Nora, but his thumb was no longer closed around her wrist. The office phone line light blinked once. Nora's mother calling back, perhaps. Nora noticed it too. Good. Grace swept Glass into a pile. You run a nice place, Minjay said. People trust you. Mostly they want pie. That young man trusted you. Daniel's eyes moved. There again. Evan's name worked on him like pressure on a bruise. Maybe, Grace said. People come in when they need somewhere warm. Where did you put him? You were assuming he came. My man saw him. Cal gave a small nod. Grace looked at the narrow customer. Then you do not need me. Minjay's expression hardened. She had exposed an inconsistency without accusing him. If Cal saw Evan enter and nobody saw him leave, the search should have been simple. Yet Minjay kept questioning Grace. That meant Minjay did not trust Cal's observation, or did not trust his own people to find what mattered. Daniel spoke. Check the walk-in again. Already did, June said. Check it again. Why? Daniel turned too fast. Because I told you. June looked at Minjay. Not Daniel. Another fracture. Daniel held rank but borrowed authority. Minjay noticed the glance and stepped between them. Everyone relax. People who said that usually needed it most. He picked up the register and pulled until the cable snapped. The drawer hit the floor. Bills and coins scattered into the coffee. Maybe this helps you remember. Grace watched a quarter spin, wobble, and settle near her knee. She felt something old move inside her. Not panic exactly, but recognition. A room had become a system. Every person had a fear. Every fear had a direction. And violence was not one event waiting to happen. It was a series of decisions searching for permission. For years she had lived among pie orders and delivery schedules, because those decisions belonged to other people. Tonight they had found her again. She rose slowly with the dustpan. You broke the register, she said. You locked the door. You scared people who do not know Evan. None of that has made him appear. You giving me advice? I am telling you what has not worked. Daniel stared at her. Minjay smiled. You think you are smart. I think Nora's arm hurts. June released the girl completely. Minjay's eyes cut toward him. June realized what he had done and grabbed her again, harder this time. Nora sucked in a breath. Grace did not criticize him. Thank you for easing up, she said. Confusion crossed June's face. She had credited the better action before he could fully abandon it. Minjay heard the shift. Don't talk to him. Then tell him not to hurt my waitress. She belongs to you. No. Grace met Nora's eyes. That is why I am responsible for her. Something in the answer quieted the room. Minjay stepped closer. Open the back room. Which one? All of them. Grace stood. There is broken glass. Let me move people to the booths first. No. Then somebody will get cut. Not my problem. It becomes your problem when panic starts. The word panic touched him. His nostrils flared. Daniel looked away. Grace adjusted. You want a quiet search, she said. Let me keep it quiet. Min Jae considered. She had given him a reason to agree that preserved his authority. 2 minutes, he said. Then every door opens. Grace nodded. Nora, take Tasha and Miguel to booth 3. Earl, stay where you are. Keep your feet up. As they moved, Grace passed close to Nora. Office order, she said softly. 2 coffees, 1 decaf. Pike pickup. Nora blinked. It sounded like nonsense. The office did not take orders, and Detective Aaron Pike had not picked up coffee in months. But Nora had worked for Grace long enough to know that strange instructions were rarely accidents. She nodded and moved toward the office. Daniel blocked her. Where are you going? Phone order, Nora said. Her voice cracked. She told me. Nobody calls out. They called us. Daniel looked at the blinking line. Min Jae gestured. Speaker. Nora pressed the button. Holloway's diner. A woman's voice burst through. Nora, why didn't you answer your cell? It is 1 a.m. Nora glanced at Grace. Sorry, Mom. We're busy. Busy? Yeah. Big order. 2 regular, 1 decaf. Detective Pike pickup. Grace heard Nora force the phrase out. Clever girl. Her mother knew Pike. Everyone in the neighborhood did. The line went silent. Nora, her mother said carefully. Is Grace there? Min Jae extended his hand. Nora gave him the receiver. She is working, he said. Your daughter will be home when we are finished. Who is this? He hung up. Now open the doors. Grace took the office key ring from beneath the counter. She did not know whether Nora's mother understood. She could not depend on it. They moved into the back hallway. Min Jae kept Grace ahead of him. Daniel followed. June remained in the dining room with Nora and the customers. Cal watched the front. The kitchen smelled of onions, bleach, and burned coffee. Grace opened the employee locker room first. Empty. The supply closet came next. Empty. At dry storage, she paused. Evan was behind the soda crates, separated from them by a thin maintenance panel and perhaps 3 feet of darkness. Open it, Min Jae said. Grace inserted the key. Her hand remained steady. The door swung inward. Shelves of canned tomatoes, flour, napkins, and syrup filled the small room. Daniel pushed past her. He checked behind shelves, kicked a cardboard box, and moved toward the crates. Grace looked at Min Jae. He is afraid. Daniel stopped. What? Your man. Grace nodded toward him. He is searching like the room is on fire. Shut up, Daniel said. Min Jae watched him. What are you afraid of, Daniel? The question was light, almost teasing, but it landed. Daniel forced a laugh. That the idiot got away. Then why do you look at the office every time we say his name? Grace asked. Too direct. She knew it the instant the words left. Daniel crossed the room and struck her. The blow caught the side of her face. Her shoulder hit a shelf. Cans rattled. Behind the soda crates, there was no sound. Grace tasted blood where her tooth cut her cheek. A flash of another room came with it. White curtains in a Portland house, a little girl's red shoe at the bottom of a staircase, a father shouting that nobody understood. Grace pushed the memory down. Present room. Present people. Daniel's chest rose too fast. Min Jae had not ordered the blow. That mattered. Feel better? Grace asked. Daniel raised his hand again. Min Jae caught his wrist. Enough. He was not protecting Grace. He was reclaiming the right to decide what happened. Daniel pulled free. She's playing games. She is a diner owner. Then why does she talk like that? Grace said nothing. Silence invited other people to fill it, and Daniel was already too full. He turned toward the crates. Move those. Min Jae's phone rang. Everyone stopped. He checked the screen and swore softly in Korean. Grace did not understand the word, but understood the fear that followed it. He answered in English. I said I have it handled. A man's voice spoke too faintly to make out. Min Jae's expression changed from irritation to careful obedience. No, he cannot access anything without the key. We will have both. Grace caught the phrase. Both. Not only Evan, the drive, and something else. Perhaps a password. Perhaps testimony. Min Jae ended the call. Daniel was staring at him. Who was that? Not your concern. They know already? I said not your concern. Daniel's fear sharpened into anger. Grace filed away the new structure. Min Jae answered to someone. Daniel had information Min Jae did not. The drive threatened Daniel personally. June did not want civilians harmed. Cal was connected but peripheral. 4 men, 4 pressures. No single crew at all. Min Jae pointed toward the soda crates. Move them. Daniel bent and dragged the first stack aside. Plastic scraped concrete. Behind the last row, the maintenance panel waited. Grace looked at a jar on the top shelf and let her gaze linger just long enough. Daniel followed her eyes. What? He reached for the jar. Grace said, nothing. He pulled it down. Pickled peppers. He opened the lid, spilling brine over his hand. Min Jae turned. What are you doing? She looked at it. Because you asked her what she was looking at. Grace's answer came quietly. Daniel slammed the jar onto the shelf. Grace walked toward the crates. Those are connected to the syrup line, she lied. Pull the bottom one, and you will flood the floor. Daniel hesitated. So? So the old electrical outlet is behind it. Min Jae swore. Leave it. Next room. Daniel objected. We haven't finished. Then search without moving them. He crouched, shining his phone behind the stack. Evan was lower, behind the panel. Daniel saw dust, pipes, darkness. He stood. Nothing. Grace kept walking. Her red had worked. That was the danger. They opened the walk-in refrigerator, the freezer, the linen closet. Min Jae grew more impatient with each empty space. When they reached the office, Daniel moved ahead. I checked it. Check again, Min Jae said. One clipping had been folded inward and pinned behind a tax calendar. Grace had forgotten it was there. Daniel opened drawers. Min Jae checked beneath the desk. Grace stood in the doorway, aware of the clipping without looking at it. What is this? Daniel asked. He held an old photograph. Grace at 36, standing beside a line of federal agents outside a bank in Spokane. The headline beneath the image read, Hostages released after 11-hour standoff. Former local agent credited with calming gunman. Daniel read the first paragraph. Then he looked at Grace. Agent. Min Jae took the clipping. The office became very quiet. Grace felt the past open like a door she had locked from the outside. You were FBI, Daniel said. It was not a question. Min Jae read farther. His eyes moved across words Grace knew by memory. Crisis negotiation team. 6 hostages. Peaceful surrender. His confidence did not disappear. It hardened. Hostage negotiator, he said. Former. That why you keep talking? I own a diner. Talking is part of the job. Daniel stepped back. He remembered every question she had asked and heard them differently now. She's been reading us. Grace looked at him. You were not difficult. He struck the desk with both hands. Where is Evan? Min Jae lifted one finger. Daniel stopped. The leader folded the clipping carefully and put it in his coat. Now I understand, Min Jae said. You think this room is yours because you know some tricks. No. You think we are desperate men you can talk out of a room. I think you came here for something you cannot afford to lose." His smile thinned. "And I think you stopped being an agent for a reason." Grace did not answer. He saw the answer anyway. "What happened?" he asked. "Somebody die?" The old room flickered again. Red shoe, white curtain, Maddie's voice asking through a telephone whether the police were angry with her father. Grace had said no. Grace had promised she would keep talking. Then she trusted a pause she believed meant surrender. It had meant goodbye. "Everybody has a room they could not fix," Minjo said. He had guessed enough to hurt. "Maybe this is yours." A crash sounded from the dining room. Nora screamed. June shouted, "Stop!" Grace turned. Minjay blocked the doorway. The situation had changed again. They rushed back into the dining room. Earl was on his feet, one hand pressed to his chest, the other gripping the edge of the table. A plate had broken beside him. June stood 3 steps away with his weapon lowered and panic across his face. "He tried to get up," June said. "He couldn't breathe." Tasha was already beside Earl. "He has heart medication in his jacket," she said. "Let me get it." Cal aimed at her. "Sit down. He may be having a heart attack." Everybody sits. Grace walked past Minjay. "Tasha is a nurse. Let her help." "No one moves," Minjay said. Earl's face had gone pale. His breathing came in small, sharp pulls. Grace crouched in front of him. "Earl, look at me." "Damn kids," he muttered. "Always ruin my dinner." It was a good sign that he could complain. "Your pills." "Inside pocket." Tasha reached slowly. Cal moved the gun toward her. June said, "Let her." Cal looked at him. "What?" "He needs his medicine." Boss said nobody moves. "She is already moving." The argument was small, but Minjay heard it. He stepped into the center of the diner. "The nurse gets the medicine. Nobody else moves." Order restored through permission. Grace watched June's shoulders lower. He needed Minjay to authorize the decent choice because he did not yet believe he could own it himself. Tasha found the bottle and helped Earl take a pill. Grace kept one hand on his wrist. His pulse was fast but steady. Stress, perhaps. The room needed to believe he would live. "He is all right," she said. Tasha looked at her, then nodded. She understood the purpose of certainty. Nora stood near the counter, rubbing her arm. Grace rose and saw the office phone line was dark. The call had ended. Had Nora's mother called Pike? Had anyone outside noticed the locked door? The street beyond the windows looked empty. Minjay turned on Grace. "Back behind the counter." She obeyed. He shoved the broken register with his foot. "You know, I thought humiliating you would make you useful. But you don't embarrass easy." At 52, embarrassment gets expensive. "Still making jokes?" "No." "Then listen. You are going to tell Evan to come out. He is not here." Daniel laughed once, brittle. "She is protecting him." "Maybe," Minjay said. "Then we use somebody she cares about." He looked at Nora. Grace felt the room contract. "No," June said before he could stop himself. Minjay turned. "No." June adjusted his stance. "I mean, we don't need that. Search again." "You telling me how to run this?" "I'm saying the girl doesn't know anything." "Neither does the old woman." The words were aimed at Grace but meant for June. Minjay needed him to accept the category. Civilians as tools. June looked toward the floor. Grace spoke before silence forced him into agreement. "He is right." Minjay's eyes moved to her. "You reward good judgment when you see it," Grace continued. "That is how people keep making good decisions. You training my men now." No, I am telling you he saved you a problem. What problem? A frightened teenager changes the room. You cannot predict what people do when they think a child is in danger. The word child brought Maddie too close. Grace felt the old promise in her throat and kept her face still. Min-jae studied her. You couldn't predict it either, could you? He had seen the wound, smart enough to use it. Who died? He asked. Grace said nothing. Was it a kid? Nora looked at her. Daniel watched with sudden interest. Min-jae smiled. There. That is fear. Grace let the silence stretch. He believed he had exposed her weakness. In truth, he had shown everyone where his attention had gone. Away from the search, away from the drive, toward winning a contest only he was playing. Her name was Maddie Sloan, Grace said. The room softened around the name. She was 8. Nora whispered, Grace. Her father held her and 2 relatives in a house outside Portland. He was desperate, angry. He wanted his wife to come back. I talked to him for 17 hours. Grace kept her eyes on Min-jae. I thought I heard surrender. I was wrong. No details, no spectacle, only the truth. Maddie died. Even Cal lowered his gaze for a second. June looked sick. Min-jae waited for Grace to break. She did not. So you quit, he said. Later. Because your voice failed. Because I decided it had. The distinction landed harder than she expected. She had not said it aloud before. For 11 years she had called the diner a new life, not a hiding place. She had told herself feeding people was enough, and most days it was. But she had also built a world where no one asked her to choose a sentence while a child listened from the other side of a wall. And now, Min-jae asked, now I make coffee. Bad coffee. You asked for the old pot. June almost smiled again. This time Min-jae saw the entire room react. Earl's mouth twitched. Nora breathed. Tasha looked less alone. Min-jae grabbed the nearest mug and threw it into the pie case. Glass cracked across the front. Nora cried out. Nobody laughs, he said. The room went silent. But the silence belonged to fear now, not respect. Grace could hear the difference. Daniel checked his phone. We need to go, he said. Not without the drive, Min-jae replied. We have been here too long. You worried about police? I'm worried the people above you already think you lost control. Min-jae stared at him. Daniel had made his fear visible. He realized it too late. What people? June asked. Nothing, Daniel said. He said people above him, Grace noted. Min-jae stepped close enough that she could smell coffee on his coat. You do not speak unless I ask. Grace nodded, then asked the right question. His hand closed around her collar. Where is Evan? Daniel flinched again. Bigger now. Grace looked at him rather than Min-jae. He isn't afraid Evan escaped, she said. He is afraid Evan will talk. Daniel drew his gun. Shut her up. June moved back. Cal raised his own weapon uncertainly. Min-jae did not release Grace. Why would Evan talk and scare you, Daniel? Daniel pointed at her. She is dividing us. Then there should be nothing to divide. Boss, she knows what she's doing. So do I. No, you don't. The words came out before Daniel could catch them. Every person heard. Min-jae slowly released Grace. Say that again. Daniel lowered the gun a fraction. I said she knows what she's doing. After that, nothing. You said I don't. I meant you don't know her tactics. You think I cannot handle a diner owner? That is not what I said. The bell above the locked front door rattled. Everyone turned. Detective Aaron Pike stood outside holding a cardboard drink carrier. He was 44, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes and a rain shell zipped to his throat. Grace had known him since he was a patrol officer who stopped for coffee at 3 in the morning. He looked through the glass and saw Cal beside the door, the customers clustered in booths, broken dishes, Nora's pale face, and Grace standing behind the counter with blood at the corner of her mouth. His expression did not change. He lifted the drink carrier. "Pick up," he called through the glass. Min-jae looked at Nora. "You called him?" "It was an order," Nora said. "He comes all the time." Pike pointed toward the lock. Min-jae gestured for Cal to open the door. "One man," he said. "No radio." Grace knew Pike would be armed. She also knew he would understand that entering could remove the only informed person outside. He did not look away. "Sorry," Pike said. "Forgot the cream in my car." He turned and walked back toward the curb. Min-jae watched him. "Why did he leave?" "Because Earl takes cream," Grace said. Earl lifted his mug weakly. "Damn right." Pike reached his unmarked sedan and opened the passenger door. He did not drive away. He bent as though searching for cream while using the car to hide his hands. Min-jae's phone rang again. He answered. The voice on the other end was louder this time. "No," Min-jae said. "There is no police." He looked out at Pike's car. "A customer. I said I have it." The caller spoke. Min-jae's face lost color. "You will have the drive before 2. The line went dead. Daniel said, "Who gave you a deadline?" "Nobody. You just said 2. Watch the room." "Who was it?" "Watch the room." Daniel laughed without humor. "They think you lost Evan." Min-jae crossed the diner and struck Daniel in the chest with both hands. "I did not lose anybody." Daniel did not move. For the first time, he looked less afraid of Min-jae than of the unseen caller. "What did Evan copy?" Grace asked. Min-jae spun toward her. "You know." "I know he had something." "You never said what." "A ledger," Daniel answered before Min-jae could stop him. "Digital records." Min-jae glared. Daniel kept going, compelled now by the need to show he knew more. "It is encrypted." "And Evan has the key?" Grace asked. "He has part of it." "Daniel." Min-jae's warning came low. Grace looked at the second in command. "What part do you have?" The room froze. Daniel's face answered before his mouth did. Min-jae saw it. "What does she mean?" "Nothing. She asked what part you have." "She is guessing." "Am I?" Grace asked. Daniel's gun rose again. "Enough." Min-jae stepped between them. "Put it down." "She knows," Evan told her. "Then shooting her loses the answer." "Maybe she is the answer." Daniel's voice cracked. That was the first moment Grace understood the full danger. Daniel was not merely afraid the ledger exposed him. He believed Grace might already possess enough information to destroy him. His fear could be turned toward truth, but it could also turn toward erasing witnesses. Outside, Pike's sedan remained at the curb. Min-jae noticed the passing car. "Close the blinds." Cal moved from window to window, pulling the slats. The diner disappeared from the street. Inside, the fluorescent lights became harsher. The room had lost its outside world. She looked toward the kitchen and saw the oven mitt hanging near the stove. The drive remained inside. Evan remained behind the soda crates. Time remained, but not much. Min-jae took Nora by the shoulder and pulled her into the center aisle. "New plan," he said. "Grace opens every hiding place we missed. If Evan is here, he comes out. If he does not, the girl gets hurt." June stared at him. "You said civilians were not part of it." "They became part when she lied." "She didn't. Do you know that?" June stopped. Min-jae put a hand on Nora's neck. She was trembling, but she lifted her chin. "Grace," she said, "don't tell him anything." The bravery in her voice nearly broke something inside Grace. Not because Nora sounded fearless, because she was terrified and chose to speak anyway. Maddie had done that too. She had whispered through the phone, "Please don't make my dad mad." Grace had promised not to. Tonight she would make no promises she could not control. "Let her go," Grace said. "Bring me Evan. You do not need her. Then she has no leverage." "Exactly." Min-jae smiled. Grace had walked into the trap. "So bring him." Behind the kitchen wall, a metal pan clattered. Everyone turned. Evan had moved. The sound came from the kitchen, sharp and unmistakable. Min-jae pulled Nora against him and pointed toward the swinging doors. "June, Daniel, go." Daniel moved first. June hesitated. Grace stepped into the aisle. "The floor back there is wet," she said. "Go slowly." Min-jae laughed, "Still protecting everybody, including your men." "Why?" "Because panic is expensive." Daniel shoved through the kitchen door. June followed. Metal cabinet doors opened. A prep table scraped. Grace listened to the search move toward dry storage. Evan had made the sound on purpose or by accident. Either way, the hiding place had minutes at most. Nora's breathing sped beneath Min-jae's arm. Grace met her eyes. "Name 5 blue things," she said. "What?" "5 blue things you can see." Min-jae frowned. "Do not play games. She is close to fainting. You want her standing." He allowed it because it sounded useful. Nora looked around. The stripe on Earl's mug, the pi sign, Miguel's jacket. Her voice steadied by the third item, the sugar packet, your key tag. "Good. 4 things you can feel. My shoes, my apron, his hand." She swallowed. "The floor." Min-jae tightened his grip. "Enough." But Nora's breathing had slowed. June pushed open the kitchen door. "We found the panel." Daniel appeared behind him, dragging Evan by the collar. The young accountant stumbled into the diner. His face was dusty, one sleeve torn, his eyes wide with shame. "I'm sorry," he said to Grace. Min-jae released Nora only to seize Evan. He struck him once in the stomach. Evan folded. Grace moved toward them. Cal blocked her. "Stay. He cannot answer while he cannot breathe. Let him choke. Then you lose the password." Daniel said, "She is right." Min-jae looked at him. Daniel added, "We need him conscious." Again, practical concern disguised fear. Grace knelt beside Evan when Min-jae permitted it. "Look at me," she said. Long breath out. He coughed and obeyed. "Did you call anyone?" Min-jae asked. Evan shook his head. "Where is the drive?" "I lost it." Daniel kicked a chair. "Liar." Evan flinched at Daniel's voice more than Min-jae's. Grace noticed. "You gave it to her," Daniel said. "No. You came here because of her. I came because I used to work here. Where is it?" "I don't know." Daniel grabbed Evan's hair. "You copied my files." "My." The word escaped cleanly. Min-jae heard it. So did Grace. "Your files?" Min-jae asked. Daniel released Evan. "Company files. You said my files. I manage them. You manage what I tell you." Daniel looked toward Grace, and she saw the calculation. Deny, redirect, threaten. "She is doing this," he said. "Every word. She is making it sound different." Grace shook her head. "Words sound different when they are true." "Shut up." You flinched the first time his name was spoken. Daniel's face tightened. "Before you knew who I was, before I asked a question, you were afraid then. Afraid he stole from us." "No." Min-jae was angry. You were afraid. Min-jae turned fully toward Daniel. His authority had become curiosity, and curiosity was dangerous because it could not be ordered away. What is on the drive? He asked. You know. Tell me. Accounts. Whose accounts? Ours. All ours? Daniel did not answer. Grace let 3 seconds pass. There is a rival arrangement, she said. Payments Min-jae did not approve. Daniel raised the weapon. June stepped away from him. Min-jae's voice dropped. Is that true? She is guessing. Then say no. No. Too fast. Min-jae looked at Grace. She did not nod or smile. Humiliating Daniel would push him toward violence. The goal was not to win an argument. The goal was to make truth safer than concealment. You made a deal because you thought Min-jae was losing control, Grace said. Maybe you told yourself you were protecting the business. Maybe you thought you deserved more, but the ledger makes it look like betrayal. Daniel's eyes widened at the word protecting. A hit. Not proof, but resonance. You don't know anything. I know you are more afraid of whoever is outside this crew than you are of police. There are no police. There are now. The room went still. Min-jae looked toward the blinds. How many? I don't know. Grace kept her voice level. Aaron will keep distance while civilians are inside. He will not rush this room. That truth reduced uncertainty without giving tactics. But the longer we stay, the fewer choices you have. You called them. Nora did. Nora lifted her chin. I told my mom. Min-jae stared at her. June whispered, She is a kid. She is a witness, Daniel said. Everyone looked at him. He heard himself. June's face changed from doubt to disgust. What does that mean? Daniel said nothing. What did you mean? June repeated. It means we leave no loose ends. Cal shifted near the window. That was never the plan. Daniel turned. The plan was get Evan in the drive. Now there are cops outside and an FBI negotiator inside. Former, Grace said. Daniel laughed wildly. You think that matters? Min-jae struck him across the face. I decide the plan. Daniel touched his lip. Then decide. We take Evan. We take the girl. Grace gives us the drive before we leave. And the witnesses? Daniel asked. June said, no. This time he did not soften it. Min-jae faced him. No. We are not hurting customers. You think you are better than us. I think that old man almost died because we scared him. June pointed toward Earl. I did not come for this. You came because you wanted a place. Not this place. The distinction sounded childish and profound at once. Min-jae walked close. Your brother gave you my name. I gave you work. Clothes. Respect. Respect from who? June asked. His voice shook. People who lock nurses in diners? Min-jae hit him. June staggered but did not raise his weapon. Put the gun down, June, Grace said. Min-jae snapped. Do not speak to him. Grace ignored him. Not on the floor, on the counter. Slow. June looked at her. They'll kill me. Who? Daniel. Him. He nodded toward Min-jae. Maybe. But holding it does not make you safer right now. It makes every frightened person watch your hands. Don't, Min-jae said. She is making you weak. Grace said, he is deciding what he will not become. June's eyes filled. He looked younger than Nora. Slowly he placed the weapon on the counter. Cal cursed. Daniel aimed at him. Pick it up. June stepped away. No. Pick it up. No. Grace looked at Daniel. You do not want to shoot him. You have no idea what I want. You want the drive and a way out. Shooting him gets neither. Daniel's arm trembled. Stop telling me what I want. Then tell us. Silence. The question opened a space. Daniel could not fill it without exposing himself. Min-jae reached for June's weapon. Nora moved. She snatched the gun from the counter first and slid it across the wet floor. It spun beneath booth 3. Tasha kicked it farther under the table. For 1 second, nobody breathed. Then Min-jae grabbed Nora and slammed her against the counter. Grace crossed the distance before Cal could stop her. Let her go. Min-jae pulled a knife from inside his coat and held it near Nora's throat. The room collapsed into stillness. Grace stopped. This was the edge. Not because of the knife, because Min-jae had lost face in front of everyone, and violence offered the quickest illusion of getting it back. You did that, he told Grace. You turned them. No. You made him disobey. You made her brave. They made choices. Because of you. His breathing was shallow. His eyes moved around the room, checking who was watching. All of them. Every witness magnified the humiliation. Grace lowered her hands. Min-jae, look at me. Do not use my name. All right. She paused. You need the drive. Yes. You need Evan alive for the key. Yes. You need a vehicle and distance. Yes. You have kept everyone alive this long, she said. That matters. You can keep doing it. He studied her. The knife moved half an inch away. Nora breathed. Drive, he said. I know where it is. Evan looked at Grace in surprise. Daniel stepped forward. Get it. Not while Nora is held. You don't negotiate, Min-jae said. You obey. Then order me to bring it after you put Nora in the booth. No. Grace said nothing. 5 seconds. 10. Silence was not absence. It was pressure without direction. Min-jae looked at the kitchen, then at the blinds. He looked at Cal. Check the alley. Cal lifted the blind a fraction. 2 cars at the far corner. Maybe more. Police. Could be. The back. Can't see. Min-jae's grip shifted on Nora. Grace saw fatigue in his hand. He had been performing control so hard that the muscles were failing. Put her in the booth, Grace said. I will get the drive. And if you lie, then you still have Evan. And the girl. You do not need both. I decide what I need. Then decide. Another pause. Min-jae pushed Nora toward June. Hold her. June did not move. I said hold her. I won't hurt her. You do not have to, Grace said. Stand beside her. June looked at Nora. Is that okay? Nora nodded cautiously. He stood beside her without touching. Min-jae kept the knife. Grace, kitchen. Daniel goes with you. Daniel smiled. Good. Grace turned toward the swinging doors. As she passed Evan, he whispered, Don't. She did not look at him. Long breath out, she said. In the kitchen, the oven mitt hung exactly where she had left it. Daniel closed the door behind them. Where? You know more than Min-jae, Grace said. Do not start. You know who called him. Where is the drive? You know the ledger exposes your side deal. Daniel grabbed her shoulder. Where? You also know the person above Min-jae will blame you if it gets out. His fingers tightened. Stop. That is why you came yourself. Not loyalty. Containment. He shoved her against the prep table. You think saying things makes them true? No, your face does. He raised the gun. Grace looked at his free hand. It was trembling harder. Daniel, you are running out of people you can lie to. I can walk out with the drive. Min Jae will not trust you now. He needs me. He hit you in front of everyone. He was angry. He asked what you hid from him. He will understand. Will the caller? Daniel's eyes shifted. There. Who was it? Grace asked. None of your business. A rival? No. The person whose money you moved. He went still. You moved money to protect yourself, she continued. Then Evan found it. Now Min Jae's bosses think Min Jae is weak, and your other partners think you may expose them. You are trapped between men who do not trust you. Daniel breathed through his mouth. You don't know the half. Tell me. Why? Because truth is the only thing in this room that gets lighter when you put it down. He laughed, but grief lived under it. You really say that to armed men? Sometimes. And they believe you. Not always. Maddie's red shoe appeared again. Grace let it. She did not push it away. One did not, she said. A child died. That is why I will not promise you everything will be fine. It may not, but I know this. If you go back out there pretending there is no betrayal, Min Jae will keep squeezing until somebody breaks. It will probably be you. Daniel looked toward the door. He has no idea how big it is. The ledger. The network. He thinks he runs the Seattle line. He is a collector with a suit. People above him use shell companies, contracts, port access. I moved some money because I needed insurance. Insurance against what? Against being disposable. And the rival deal? Daniel stared. Evan told you. No, you did. He realized it. His face crumpled for one brief second before anger rebuilt it. Where is the drive? Grace pointed to the oven mitt. Daniel grabbed it, tore the seam, and held the flash drive in his palm. Relief flooded him. Then he looked at Grace. The relief disappeared. Now what? She asked. Now I leave. With Min Jae? Without him if I have to. And Nora, Evan, the customers. Not my problem. They become your witnesses. Daniel looked toward the door again. The logic he had voiced earlier returned. Grace saw the decision forming and felt the room tilt toward catastrophe. You do not want their deaths attached to your escape, she said. You don't know what I want. Then why haven't you shot me? He aimed at her chest. Maybe I will. You had 3 chances. Maybe I was waiting. For permission. His eyes flashed. From Min Jae? From the people above him. You built your whole life around not being disposable, and now every choice still belongs to somebody else. The gun lowered a fraction. You think surrender makes me free? No, I think telling the truth gives you one decision that is yours. And prison. Probably. That is your offer? My offer is that Nora stays alive, Evan stays alive, and you do not become the man who murders a diner full of people because he was afraid of being exposed. Daniel stared at the drive. You make it sound simple. It is not simple. Then stop talking like it is. Grace nodded. All right. She went silent. He waited for persuasion. None came. From the dining room, Min Jae shouted, Daniel! Daniel closed his fist around the drive. You walk out first, he said. You tell him I found nothing. He will know. Tell him? No. He raised the gun. Grace did not move. You are not going to shoot me in a kitchen while holding the only thing that can bargain for your life, she said. You need me to keep Min Jae listening. Daniel hated that she was right. Then help me. Help you do what? Get out. With everyone alive? He looked away. That is the only version I help. Min Jae shouted again. Daniel opened the door. Fine, he whispered. For now. They returned to the dining room. Every face turned. Min Jae saw Daniel's closed fist. You found it. Daniel opened his hand. The black drive looked tiny beneath the fluorescent lights. Evan shut his eyes. Min Jae smiled. The smile was pure relief, and because it came before suspicion, Grace knew he believed the crisis was ending. Give it to me, he said. Daniel did not move. Daniel. We need terms. The smile vanished. What? Police are outside. We need a car and a route. Give me the drive. It is leverage. It belongs to me. It belongs to whoever gets us out. Min Jae took one step forward. Daniel raised the weapon. Cal turned toward him. June moved closer to Nora. Put it down, Min Jae said. Daniel laughed. The drive or the gun? Both. You first. Cal moved away from the window, uncertain where loyalty now belonged. Min Jae pointed the knife at Daniel. You stole from me. I protected myself. You made a deal behind my back. Because you were losing control before tonight. Nobody leaves, he said. Nobody talks. I fixed this. How? Daniel asked. By removing the problem. His eyes went to Evan. Grace stepped between them. The problem is not Evan anymore. Move. Everyone knows the drive exists. People outside know this diner is in trouble. Killing him changes nothing. It changes what he can say. Daniel can say it. Min Jae looked at Daniel. Then maybe Daniel is also a problem. Cal said, Boss, we should listen to the police. Min Jae turned on him. You too. I am saying we need a way out. There is no way out, Daniel said. Not with him. He pointed at Min Jae. He will trade us to save himself. You are the traitor. I learned from you. Their voices rose. Grace watched June. He had positioned himself slightly in front of Nora. Outside, Pike's voice came through a speaker, calm and unhurried. Min Jae, this is Detective Aaron Pike. Nobody is coming through the door. We want everyone safe. Pick up the diner phone when it rings. The office phone rang. No one moved. It rang again. Min Jae looked at Grace. What did you tell him? That people were inside. What else? Nothing. Liar. Then answer and ask. The phone rang a third time. Min Jae ordered Cal to bring it. Cal carried the cordless receiver from the office and set it on the counter. Min Jae pressed speaker. You have 1 minute, he said. Pike answered. You have my attention. Tell me what you need. Clear the street, Min Jae said. It is clear. I see cars. They are staying back. I want a vehicle. We can talk about transportation after I know everyone is okay. They are okay. I need to hear that. Min Jae looked at Grace. She said, Earl needs medical care, but he is stable. Nora, Tasha, Miguel, Evan, and the others are alive. Pike paused. Thank you, Grace. He used her name to anchor the room. Min Jae hated it. You talk to me, he said. I am talking to you. You have kept this from getting worse. Keep doing that. Grace heard her own earlier language reflected back. Pike was giving Min Jae a path to restraint. I want the vehicle, Min Jae repeated. Tell me who would leave in it. Me, Daniel, June, Evan, the girl. June said, no. Min Jae ignored him. Pike said, that is a lot to solve at once. Start smaller. Let Earl and the nurse walk out. No. One sick man. One nurse. It shows me you were in charge. Min Jae looked around. The old man goes, he said. The nurse stays. Tasha began to object. Grace touched her arm. Go with Earl. He said I stay. Then Earl goes alone, Pike asked through the phone. He cannot walk well. Minjay cursed. Fine, both. Tasha helped Earl stand. As they passed Grace, Earl squeezed her hand. Coffee still tastes terrible, he whispered. Get out, she said. The front door opened. Cool air entered. Tasha and Earl crossed the threshold. For one moment, everyone saw distant lights and dark shapes beyond the street. Then Cal locked the door again. No more, he said. Pike replied, You made a good decision. Stop praising me. All right. Pike adjusted without resistance. Tell me about the drive. Daniel looked at Minjay. Minjay said, There is no drive. Then why is Daniel holding one? Daniel backed away from the window. Minjay's face twisted. You are watching us. We are watching the door. We do not want surprises. Turn everything off. I cannot make the street disappear. Then people get hurt. He grabbed Evan. Grace said, No. One word. Not loud. Minjay looked at her. You are out of tricks. This was never a trick. You took my men. They are not yours. Everything in this room was mine when I walked in. That is the mistake. The diner went quiet. Grace stepped closer, stopping outside the reach of his knife. You thought fear was ownership. It is not. Fear borrows obedience and charges interest. June paid it when you asked him to hurt civilians. Daniel paid it when you made him disposable. Cal paid it when you locked him inside with strangers. Nora paid it when you put a blade near her throat. You kept collecting until nobody could afford you. Minjay stared at her. And you? I paid fear for 11 years. Maddie's name moved through her. No longer a blade, only grief. I thought silence would keep me from failing again. It did not. It only kept me quiet. You failed a child. Yes. And you think tonight fixes that? No. The answer surprised him. Maddie is still gone. Nothing fixes that. But I will not let her death teach me that fear should make every decision. Minjay's grip on Evan loosened. Not surrender. Disorientation. He had expected denial or redemption. Grace offered neither. You think you know me, he said. I know you are terrified of losing face. I am not afraid. Then let Miguel and Nora go. No. Because you need them? Because I decide. That is not the same thing. Daniel said, She is right. Minjay turned. Daniel held the drive up. You want truth? I move money. I made a deal with the Tacoma Group. I copied access keys. Evan found it during an audit. Evan looked at him. You threatened my father. I needed time. You put men outside his house. I needed time, Daniel shouted. The confession filled the diner. Pike heard every word through the phone. Minjay looked stunned, then empty. How much? He asked. Daniel named no amount. Enough. For what? A life after you. Minjay crossed toward him. Daniel raised the gun. Stop. Give me the drive. No. You are dead without me. I was dead with you. Grace saw Daniel's finger tighten. Daniel, she said, look at June. Why? Look. June stood in front of Nora, unarmed, frightened, but upright. Daniel looked. He chose a line, Grace said. You still can. My line was crossed years ago. Then choose the next one. Minjay took another step. He will shoot you, Grace warned. He is weak. No. He is cornered. Minjay stopped. The distinction reached him. Grace turned to Daniel. Put the drive on the counter. Then I have nothing. You have your confession. Pike heard it. That makes me a prisoner. It makes you alive long enough to answer for it. Not good enough. It is what is real. Daniel's arm shook. Min-jae watched him with contempt, but beneath contempt was fear. Grace addressed Min-jae without looking away from Daniel. Tell him you will not move. Why? Because you do not want him to fire. I am not taking orders from you. Then make it your decision. A long pause. I will not move, Min-jae said. Daniel blinked. The room softened by 1 degree. Grace said, Place the gun on the counter, Daniel. Keep the drive if you need to. One thing at a time. Daniel lowered the gun to the counter. Cal immediately set his own beside it. June exhaled. Pike's voice came through the phone. That helps. Keep going. Min-jae looked at the weapons, then at the knife in his hand. His was the last visible threat. Losing it would mean accepting the room no longer obeyed him. He grabbed Nora again. June moved between them. No. Min-jae shoved him. June stayed upright. Move. No. You owe me. Not her. Min-jae raised the knife. Grace stepped beside June. You do not want your last decision to be hurting him. Get away. You built him to need your approval. Now he is asking you to prove there was something worth approving. Min-jae's face broke for an instant. June said, Hyung, stop. Older brother. Not by blood, perhaps, but by the place Min-jae had claimed in his life. The word reached beneath rank. Min-jae looked at the young man. They will put us away. Maybe, June said, but we walk out. They will laugh. Who? Grace asked. Min-jae looked toward her. The people above you. The men who sent you into this diner while they called from safe rooms. They already decided your life was cheaper than the ledger. Let Nora sit with Miguel, she said. Min-jae did not move. She is not the person who betrayed you. Slowly, he released her. Nora crossed to Miguel, who wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. Grace did not go to her. Not yet. The room still balanced on Min-jae's shame. Now, Evan, Grace said. No. He cannot change what Daniel confessed. He stole from me. He exposed Daniel. He exposed all of us. Then the truth is larger than this room. Min-jae looked at the flash drive. That thing destroys people. People made the choices on it. Evan spoke from behind him. My father lost his store because your company buried him in fake debt. Min-jae said, I did not know. You never asked. The accusation hurt because it resembled weakness. Grace intervened before shame turned outward. You do not have to answer everything tonight. You only have to decide what happens in the next minute. Pike said through the phone, That is right. 1 minute. No surprises. Min-jae looked toward the door. What happens if I put it down? You walk out alive. Pike said, You will be arrested. You will have counsel. The evidence will be handled lawfully. I will not promise anything beyond what I control. Min-jae asked, And Daniel? He walks out alive too. He betrayed me. Then let the truth punish him, Grace said. Not your fear. He looked at her for a long time. You really were FBI. Yes. And all night you were talking us down. All night I was trying to keep people alive. Same thing. Not always. He almost smiled. It was the first expression that did not seem designed for an audience. Min-jae looked at her with something close to disbelief. The room had obeyed her, but she had not taken power from them. She had returned choice. Knife on the counter, she said. Min-jae looked at June. June nodded. Min-jae set the knife beside the guns. Unlock the door, Pike said. Cal looked to Minjay. After a moment, Minjay nodded. Cal turned the lock. The bell above the door moved in the draft. Pike entered alone with empty hands visible. He stopped just inside. "Thank you," he said. "We will do this slowly." Cal stepped out first. June followed, pausing beside Nora. "I'm sorry," he said. Nora nodded but did not forgive him. She did not have to. Daniel placed the flash drive on the counter. "It has everything," he told Pike. "The Tacoma payments, port contracts, company names. The access records are tied to Evans' key." Pike said, "Keep your hands visible and walk toward me." Daniel looked at Grace. Truth did not get lighter. "Not yet," she said, "but you put it down." He walked out. Minjay remained. Evan moved toward Nora. Grace finally crossed to them. Nora threw her arms around Grace so hard that Grace's bruised shoulder ached. "You told me it was all right," Nora whispered. "I was guessing." Nora laughed once through tears. Grace held her tighter. Minjay watched. "You lied," he said. At the threshold, he stopped. "When did I lose?" he asked. Grace considered. "When Daniel flinched at Evan's name and you pretended not to see it." Minjay looked back at Daniel waiting outside. "That early?" "Earlier. You thought making people afraid meant the room belonged to you." He stepped outside. The bell rang above him. Evan sat in a booth beneath a blanket, speaking with federal investigators who had been contacted after Pike confirmed the nature of the drive. Grace gave her statement last. Pike sat across from her in booth 2. "You used the old phrase," he said. "Decaf for the driver." "I did. I almost forgot it." "You didn't." He looked at the broken pie case. "You saved them." Grace shook her head. Nora made the call. Tasha kept Earl steady. June put down the gun. Daniel told the truth. "You kept your people back." "And you." Grace looked at the coffee spreading beneath the ruined register, now dry at the edges. "I stayed in the room. 3 weeks later, Holloway's all-night diner reopened. Nora returned for the first evening shift, wearing the same apron after her mother had washed it 3 times. Earl held court in his usual booth, exaggerating his medical emergency until Tasha threatened to read his discharge instructions aloud. Miguel brought his daughter for pancakes. Evan did not return. He entered federal protection while the cases developed, but a postcard arrived without a return address. Grace kept the card beneath the register. Beside it sat one broken coffee mug from that night. The handle was gone, and a crack ran through the faded diner logo. Nora asked why she kept it. Grace turned the mug so the crack faced the room. "Because calm is not the same as unbroken," she said, "and broken is not the same as useless." Near midnight, the diner filled with its ordinary people. Grace poured coffee before they asked. She wiped the same clean patch of counter. The bell rang, and for half a second her body remembered fear. Then she looked up. A tired family entered from the highway, 2 parents and a little girl in a red coat. The color caught Grace's breath. Maddie rose in memory, not as a body at the end of a failed standoff, but as a voice asking whether anyone was still listening. Grace had been listening. She always would be. The pain remained, but it no longer owned her silence. She carried menus to the family and knelt beside the little girl. "Hot chocolate?" Grace asked. The girl nodded. "Extra whipped cream?" Another nod. Grace smiled and stood. Outside, the city moved through darkness toward morning. Inside, cups touched saucers, people spoke softly, and the room belonged to no one because everyone inside was safe enough to choose. Minjay had entered believing quiet meant weak, age meant helpless, and humiliation meant control. He had mistaken Grace's restraint for surrender and her ordinary life for the absence of power. He learned too late that the strongest person in the diner was the one who did not need anyone to be afraid of her. They humiliated her because she looked like a tired diner owner. By sunrise, Min Jae Park understood that Grace Holloway's quiet voice had once ended standoffs men like him never survived.